Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, I'm your host, Scott Carson. Excited to be here today. For those that are watching this live, you're getting a lot of great nuggets out of it. For those that are watching the replays on either WeCloseNotes.tv, YouTube, Vimeo, or one of our other 50 network channels, welcome. Glad to have you out here. You're going to get a lot of nuggets out of today's show because we're honored and jacked up to have somebody who's doing a really great job, who's doing awesome things out there. The man, the myth, the Indianapolis note wholesaling legend, Mr. Justin Bogard from BrightPath Notes. Good morning, Justin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Carson.
No problem at all, my friend.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
I have my moments. Hey, thank you for that little donut snafu earlier, helping me out here, so I'm not looking like a crazed dog here this morning on the podcast. But so for those that don't know you, Justin, why don't you take a quick second and share a little about who you are, kind of your background, how you got started in notes, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Cool. So back in 2004, I bought kind of my first home. It was what we called a HUD home, and I was wanting to put some sweat equity into it. So found one that needed, carpet, paint, appliances, some random patchwork here and there. And I kind of lived in it for a few years and then ended up selling it during the downtime, which was about 08, 09. And I was thinking, everyone was telling me you probably shouldn't sell property right now. You're probably not going to make any money. But what do I know, So I had a realtor friend of mine help me stage the house and help me understand, how to sell the home. And I learned a lot from him. And I sold it within 24 hours because I basically did exactly what he told me to do. I staged it the way he wanted me to and made about $3,000 on it, which was nice. And so I spent that money wisely, I think, on a bicycle.
Motorcycle or a bicycle?
A bicycle, yeah, a bicycle, all about saving the earth, right? So then I kind of got a bug for investing in real estate. I was like, wow, I sold this thing in a down market. I made some money on it. Everyone else was telling me, you don't really do that right now. I was like, well, I did it. So, hey, it works. And so just kind of went out and did some more wholesaling deals, did some fix and flipping, and also invested in myself and got some real estate education, had some mentors and some coaches kind of, teach me the process, spent some money on that. And then I had a full-time job at the time. I was a database analyst working for some print companies, a mailroom manager. And so then I just, fired my boss, woohoo. And then I went on my own, wholesaled some more deals, fixed and flipped, turned into some rentals, which I didn't like a whole lot. And then notes came into my life. There was a guy that came into town and did a presentation on note investing and buying mortgages on the secondary market. I was like, why would I do that? And so I listened to him and I saw his presentation and I saw his case studies and how he made money. I'm like, holy cow, this is great. No tenants, no toilets, no trash. I can be the bank. You mean I own nothing, but I control everything? Oh, this is for me. And so about 3 years ago, I turned my real estate, life around and said, okay, let me liquidate all my flips. Let me figure out how to get things into notes and transition to notes. And then so I learned how to wholesale notes. I learned how to buy non-performing and performing notes. And I've been networking a lot, meeting people, like yourself, Scott. We met, last month at the Note Summit.
Yeah, Midwest Note
Summit. I'm just putting myself out there, I have my own note meetup now here in Indianapolis that I do, and starting to do more social media. I learned a lot from watching the We Close Notes podcast and just listening to the marketing. And it really is about marketing. It's like you don't have to know everything about the business. You need to put yourself out there so that people know who to go to. And so that's kind of where I am today. And you saw me speak at the event, the Note Summit we talked about, and been doing some more events. And now I've been on a couple podcasts now, a couple radio shows. So just like, my head's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, hey, you did a great job presenting at the Midwest Note Summit that me and Joan Cox put on there. And it was great. And I think we've been connected online anyway.
Yeah.
Through Instagram or something like that. And saw that you'd had to meet a group in Indianapolis. And so let's talk about a couple things. Just I'm sure you've heard people get into this, especially people get in there, hey, you can't find any deals. Oh, it's too overpriced and stuff like that. And when you market, when you know how to market, you can find deals. Would you agree to that?
100%, absolutely. And there's not one place to buy notes. And that's what people get hung up on, especially being in the note business. There's a lot of people just hung up on where do you buy deals? Well, you show people where to buy from banks. You show people hedge funds. And then the private seller category is essentially untapped. So I'll send out direct mail campaigns to people that own these seller finance paper and buy it from them. And those are really my best deals, you know?
Yeah. Because there's a lot of private sellers, and private sellers, we're not just talking. I mean, I think some people make the mistake of private sellers. Yes, they're the people that have done an owner finance note, 1 or 2 deals, and they got that. But there's also hundreds and a ton of other note investors like you and me that would be considered kind of the private seller aspect of things, right, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you're reaching out on a regular basis, and your business model, kind of your basic business model is what? Wholesaling notes, finding some deals, and bringing and being kind of the what's the word I'm looking for here? The note matchmaker of finding investors that want to find some of the deals you got. Is that correct?
Yeah, the note liaison, the debt dealer, however you want to describe it.
Hang on a second. We might need to make a hashtag of that. The debt dealer.
Coined now?
Yep. Debt dealer there for you, buddy.
Yes, I got a hashtag. Yeah, so my business model is simple. Do I have the money to fund that deal? Yes or no? And if I don't, well, I got a group of buyers and I got a group of sellers that I just market to and say, hey, let's connect everyone together. And I'm not going to lose an opportunity if a deal comes across my desk and make some money on it. So,
all right, so let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a lost art. And I'm not wholesalers in the traditional fix and flip game have a bad rap, I think.
Absolutely.
Right? They see something, they have no idea what the ARV is or what the true value of the property is, what type of repairs, what type of exit strategies are available. And so they pull some numbers out of their ass, and you look at the numbers, it just doesn't make sense for fix and flippers. Now with wholesale on the note side, it's a little bit different ball game, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think the biggest thing is you talked about is network and bringing people together. And you got a fan club already out this morning. Michael Rogers says, hey, way to go, Justin. Michael Rogers is a good guy. Amy Goodman out there. Good morning, Miss Amy.
All right.
Yeah,
I know Michael. Michael and I have talked many a times.
Yeah, Mike's a good guy. And then, hey, Amy, good to see you this morning as well. Stephanie Goodman this morning, my right arm, giving an applause out there. Casey Lang out there from Giddings, not Giddings, Greeley, Colorado. Let's get there. Giddings is just south of here.
Okay.
But you do a really good job of matching up the deals that you come across with your potential buyer base, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
What's the big key to that? For those that are listening out there, looking to get in the note business, that are wanting to start at wholesaling because they don't have a lot of their own capital, which wholesaling notes just kind of similar to wholesaling a piece of property. You find a deal, get it at a decent price, put it on a contract, and then sell that contract for the most part. But what's the big thing about what you're doing? Because I love your case studies because it's all about knowing your list, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You want to go into a little more about that? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was taking a drink. I get dry mouth this morning, I guess.
That's all right. Hey, it's all right, man. I had dry mouth from eating a donut this morning.
Yeah, it was dry. It was all over the place, God. I had to say.
And the funny thing, I had to drop my truck off for service this morning. I'm hungry. I hadn't grabbed breakfast yet. I had to jump my car to get out of the driveway this morning. My Dodge Ram. And so I'm starving. I grab a donut there. I'm eating it, and the courtesy vehicle guy comes up. Are you Mr. Carr? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So I'm spilling coffee all over my shorts. And I get in here and I'm not paying attention. I'm sure I look like ass. This guy's following me in my office because we were in executive suite. So I come to my door, I'm fumbling. Do you need help? And I'm like, no. And I get back and I can see the video. I got all this powdered sugar on the side of my face.
He's probably thinking, Mr. Carson.
Yeah.
You might want to take it.
You need some definite help there. But anyway, sorry.
No worries. Networking. Going to note meetups, going to note summits, going to note expos, note camps, whatever the case may be. Just talk to other people. Find out what are they looking for. Asking to be on your mail campaign. There's a lot of note buyers out there, and you have to find the note sellers via hedge funds, private sellers doing direct mail campaigns, that sort of thing. But the note buyers is how you get them from networking. So I make a list of people when I go to these events and put them all into MailChimp and start sending out blasts. And if I have deals going on that I want to sell, they're the first ones to get it. And have, a segregated list within that are more of my high rollers, if you will, people that I know that can fund deals and can fund them quickly. And then, I got my other list. So That's in general sense, it's networking. It's really getting out there, putting yourself out there and say, hey, I'm a note buyer and I'm a note seller. If you're looking for deals, if you're looking for passive income, if you want some non-performing deals, come see me. Let me show you my inventory, and just start that way. And it snowballs into, hey, did you know Justin does notes? You're looking for some passive income. I get referrals that way as well.
Right. So let's talk about some things in qualifying your contacts. Because I think that's one of the biggest things. Because I get people all the time, oh man, I can sling some notes. I just need some funding. And I'm like, well, get out and start networking. Start doing the same things you do to find buyers. Get out and start talking to people with capital. So how do you qualify or proof up, let's say, because that's an important thing to keep in mind. How do you proof up your buyers so that they're not leaving you hanging at the closing table and you lose face with a buyer or risk getting blacklisted?
Yeah, so and I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a big part of one of my case studies at the Note Summit, was that just to tell the honest truth about the business is that you've got to check your buyer, make sure they have the money, asking for proof of funds, make them sign some sort of commitment. I think I have an agreement. I forget what I word it, but some sort of investor commitment I have people sign to say, hey, I'm pledging this amount of money with you. When you find the deal, I will fund it within 48 hours, and there's a penalty if they don't fund it. Now it sounds kind of harsh, but once it happens to you one time, you don't want to happen to you again. And so in that case study that I was talking about, there was a couple of guys that I hadn't met before, and I hadn't done a deal with them before, and they were all serious about buying notes. And at the last minute, they kind of backed out for whatever reason they wanted to. And so I was able to escape the blacklist from my source that I was buying them from. But at the same time, it was very nerve-wracking to go through that and not check them. So lesson learned is that I need to vet them more heavily. So what I would suggest is just have an honest conversation with them and say, what capital are you working with? Would you mind showing me proof of funds? And don't take offense to it. It's just, you got to understand that we need to know, because these are real deals and this is a real situation. This is real money,
And that's definitely important too when you're putting deals together. You're not asking for a letter of intent, some blind letter of intent from them, which a lot of the joker brokers do, and you're only asking for proof of funds for basically the amount that they're looking at purchasing. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different thing than, oh, give me a proof of funds and a letter of intent before I even show you any assets.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I'll get a few people on LinkedIn that'll be, the assumption is a broker joker, and they'll do the same thing. They're like, let me show you, we need proof of funds and LOI before we show you the deal. I'm like, what? Just show me a snippet of what you got, and I can tell based on the discount if they're going to be any good for me. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you for your portfolio? You primarily buying non-performing or performing, or a mixed bag?
Mostly performing, about 75% performing.
Cool. Nothing wrong with that. There, you'd like the cash flow, right?
Absolutely, cash flow, not cash burn, cash flow. Now, I got nothing against non-performing notes. It's just I'm more comfortable with performing notes, to be honest.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
Especially if you got cheap money.
Yeah,
coming in below what the ROI is on the performing stuff is a great way to arbitrage.
Absolutely. And I do a lot of that as well. So it's funny when you talk to investors and you tell them, yeah, I can give you a 6% interest only rate for a couple of years. And they're like, wow, you can do that? I'm like, yes, I can. How much do you have? What would you like to spend? And you're able to work some deals that way. So there's definitely room to make some money when you borrow some money cheaply. And, you can borrow it for a few years and they're comfortable with the security. They can just take your place if you default on them. And if they know you and they like you and trust you, that's the best way to build that relationship.
I'm sure I got some people on here. We got some sharks watching this morning.
All right.
Eric Hyde out there this morning saying, loving it. Our Gardenia police sergeant from California. He goes, Justin, we need to get to know each other. You better watch out for this guy. This guy's a shark. Congratulations, Eric. Eric just closed on his first large pool as well. But 6%, that's cheap money.
Yep.
A lot of people out there are, especially when you go networking at like the Midwest Note Summit or the REIT clubs, you're going to find sharks there that probably aren't looking for 6% return on their investment. Is that correct?
Correct. Right.
So where are you finding people that are happy with 6%?
People from my note meetup, people from just everyday walks of life that don't really get into real estate, but they're like, maybe someone's an attorney or they're a doctor, and they're just like, I am so busy, but I have this stack of cash I need to work. How can you help me? And that's how it happens. It's obviously not the real estate investor It's not somebody that's looking to be into real estate. It's the person that's just busy in everyday life that just understands that they want to have their money, make money, but they don't like where it's at currently, like in the stock market or with mutual funds or whatever it is they have it in, because they've been, brainwashed and thinking that's the only way they can make money.
That's true.
And I grew up that way. You got to have a savings account. And I look back and I go, 2% on a savings account. I mean, how does that make sense? What's inflation now? 2.5%, 3%. I mean, you're losing money. And so when you tell people that, like, you can make 6% and do nothing. Okay, sign me up. It's great. It doesn't happen every day, every time you meet somebody, but that's what the interview process is. You learn, what are you looking for return? What's going to make you happy? And then, I tailor my conversation based on, you fit in this program. Oh, no, you fit in this program, or no, you're the partnering program, and just kind of go down the list.
And then, as you just said, go down the list, knowing where that person falls into, what their expectations are, and then what you come across that can fit into that. It's literally not putting round pegs in the square holes, but finding the round holes for the round pegs, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody's got 25 grand, they're going to make 6% money. I mean, hang on a second. Let's figure that out real fast. What's 6% on $25,000 in a year? Not much, right?
Right.
25 times 0.06. Yeah, it's $1,500 a year. Divide that by 12 months. It's $125. So a month. So you find a note that's paying out more than $125 a month. You can pull your money out or get them to fund that deal and make the difference in between it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I love about borrowing some money cheaply, especially when you don't have to borrow it per asset, when it's more like a loose promissory note. And that's kind of what I do in full disclosure, is I'll have loose promissory notes to my company, and then I'm able to leverage that money and go out and buy some deals for myself as well, just so I can build my portfolio up.
Yeah. Now, are you paying back on a monthly or quarterly basis or end of the year? How are you structuring that with payouts for you?
I personally like to do quarterly, because with monthly, I feel like you got too much of a time crunch when you're in between deals and have post-closing issues and stuff where you may not get your money as soon as you buy it. It may take you 90 days to see your first payment. So I like the quarterly aspect of it. I try not to do monthly, but if somebody's pushed me to monthly to still borrow their money cheap, well, I'll go ahead and do it. But
sure. Hell, yeah. Who's going to turn down 4 to 6% money? I can make the payments out of that to get that money in house, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
What would you say has been your biggest learning curve being a wholesaler?
Biggest learning curve is that I'm not a salesperson. And so you have to learn how to be a salesperson very quickly in this business. And it's something I wasn't really comfortable with at first. But after you do a couple of deals and you make some money, make a few $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever, you'd be like, I can be a salesperson. That's the biggest learning curve, is just talking to people. Lose them? Uh-oh, we lost everybody.
I don't know what happened. I think we just lost him there for a second.
Okay.
Let's see if he's just back on here in a second. It's kind of funny.
Did you lose me?
So as Justin hopefully will come back on here in a second. We're all in sales, whether you believe it or not. And I would agree to him on that. As I've been fortunate to have some really great sales trainers out to you. I don't know what happened to Justin. I can't hear him at all.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me at all?
Just maybe you want to Justin, let me have you, Justin. Nope. Well, that's fine. I can't hear him at all. I don't see him at all here. Justin, can I have you reboot and jump back on real fast?
Okay, I can do that if you can hear me. Am I back? Can you see me, Scott, or hear me?
There we go. I can see you now.
Okay.
Weird. Your camera went black.
Wow. Somebody must be hacking into my network.
Something. But anyway, we'll start over there. So you're talking about the fact that you can learn how to be a sales guy, correct?
Yes, you can learn how to be a salesperson. I had to learn how to talk to people. If somebody's from Austin, Texas, I may have to talk to them a little differently. Somebody's from Indianapolis, Minnesota, I may have to talk to them differently. If they're from the rural area, or from the city, you have to tailor your conversations and just pick up on little things that they talk about and understand what their pain point. And then, use this, listen to them, understand what they want, be genuine. Getting education from other people just in different marketing businesses on how to be a salesperson. that translates a lot, because it's all about the communication. It's all about getting them to know you and to like you and to trust you. And that's the biggest learning curve is learning how to be a salesperson. I mean, the deals are easy to run because everyone can run a calculator, can run a math and go, what's my tolerance? What's their tolerance? And, play it from there.
How often are you mailing out to your database? Are you doing it on a pretty regular basis, or once in a blue moon, or never?
My database when I'm trying to get buyers and sellers together, or when I direct mail campaigns?
Both. Let's talk about both.
Yeah. So when I do a direct mail campaign, I'll figure out what state or what counties I want to concentrate in, and I'll mail that probably at least 4 times, and I'll try and do it over a 120-day period, about 3 to 4 months. And that way you get that repeat touch. And of course, then people call you and they want to be off your list, or they, you have a note that's presented in front of you. I don't know how many notes you see like this, but I see a lot of 0% zero down notes lately from some of these areas, and just going like, I'll price this note, but it's not going to look pretty, Mm-hmm. And so there'll be a lot of crap that you have to filter through. But then networking with buyers and sellers, I'm sending out, my MailChimp campaigns at least once a month with my newsletter. And then I'll send out deals every now and then when I got some good deals come across. And then the social media post is something that I'm really gearing towards pushing a lot more and doing, like you said, you need to do some daily post or at least a weekly post at a minimum. And I'm starting to do that a lot more to reach my network of buyers and sellers, just to keep them engaged and understand what I'm doing and what I'm looking at, what deals come across. And hey, when I'm on the We Close Notes podcast, that'll be my next social media campaign. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's all about just staying in front of your audience. I think that's the biggest thing. Is we get bombarded with so many different inputs and things coming at us. No wonder that most Americans have less than a 9-second attention span. And and a goldfish is a 9-second. We often have a less than a 9-second attention span. I mean, I've lost my own attention in the last 10 seconds.
Just hearing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Where am I at?
But the thing that I love is, boom, just knock it out. Once a month, when you're marketing out, doing some direct mail campaigns, out trying to find owner finance notes, you're setting yourself up for success by planning over 120 days. So many note investors, they send out like one mail piece or one marketing piece, and they expect it to just be perfect, and then they give up after that. Have you seen a lot of that?
Absolutely. That's just probably about 9 out of 10 people are doing that. It seems like, just the people that I talk to, I'm like, you just have to be consistent. You have to have multiple touches, as they say in the direct mail business. You got to be in front of them. Like you said, they're not going to bite on the first one. They may remember your logo or your brand and realize they've gotten multiple letters or postcards from you. And then eventually you get those phone calls, you get those repeat phone calls. I still have people call me from a direct mail campaign I did back in January or February this year. It's just funny. Like, yeah, I kept your mail piece, and all of a sudden the pain got turned up on them, and they're willing to sell their note. They're willing to liquidate and get out of their situation. So it's kind of neat. Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. If you've got a great marketing piece, people will hold on to it. I mean, we do a direct mail campaign out to IRA investors, traditional IRA investors, or people that don't have a self-directed. And it's funny, we'll get phone calls or email from people that got our postcard 6 months ago. Hey, I've been watching some of your stuff, or hey, I'm ready to make my money work, or I left my job, I got a 401k to roll over now, do some fun stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
It's all about just staying it and rinse and repeating and building kind of a note pipeline or a funding pipeline, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that when you're getting lists, are you getting your lists from banks for your deals that you're wholesaling off? Are you getting those from private sellers? But you getting some from banks or hedge funds as well?
I don't have much luck with banks, so I need to get some Scott Carson education on that. But hedge funds and private sellers is the main bulk of my inventory, and then kind of surprisingly word of mouth. Like, I'm in a BNI network here locally here in Indianapolis, and you'd be surprised how some of these property management companies are a great resource, because they have landlords that they work with and property owners, and then they'll either have a note that's on a different portfolio they have, or somehow or another they have a note. Like, I get a couple of non-performing notes that way too, which is kind of strange, but it works. So it's just, it's funny where you network, you're able to find a source somewhere.
That's huge. That's a huge thing. I'm glad you said that, because networking is key. And so many people, they expect us to show up to one meeting once a month and sit in the back and hide and cross their arms,
Yeah.
not talk to anybody. I'm sure you've seen plenty of those people, right?
I'm Mr. Important. I want deals to come to me.
But I don't want to do any work.
That's right. I'm not doing any work. Well, then you're probably going to make 5 or 6%.
Yeah.
Sorry. You got to do some work to make some dough.
No work equals no returns.
Right. Hashtag that.
Yeah, I will do that up there. Now, are you buying stuff just for in Indiana just for your own portfolio? Or are you doing it across the country?
Across the country, mainly in the Midwest and the southern states is what I like to do. I'm just not familiar with some of the West Coast stuff, and quite honestly, it's too pricey for me.
Yeah.
So I'm just an Indiana hick. I got to maintain my threshold of under $200,000 per asset. I won't go north of that.
Well, I think it's smart. The biggest thing I tell people is you start getting above $250,000 valued assets. Those people often have friends, attorney friends and stuff like that can help drag that foreclosure out if you need to be. Plus, heck, if you buy a $250,000 asset, you can buy half a block in Indianapolis,
That's true. Yeah. You can go to the city and get about 90 parcels that way. Yeah.
So are you seeing that? Indianapolis has been going through quite a bit of growth the last couple of years. Are you still seeing that there in Indiana?
Indianapolis has been growing and growing and growing, and they're going to continue to grow. They've done an excellent job of just, beautifying Indianapolis. We don't have large skyscrapers, but we're growing outward, and we're reaching different parts of Indianapolis and making them more beautiful. We've got an HGTV show called Good Bones that's in Fountain Square, which is just right outside of the downtown Indianapolis area, and they've blown that area up. And they've also blown up an area next to it called Bates Hendricks. And so you'll see them, go through some flips out there. And that's also catapulted a bunch of real estate investors to hit that market in Indy. And then there's just good pockets in Indy, and there's just a ton of growth. There's a potential for Amazon to be here as well. And so we look for those businesses to come here locally to Indianapolis, and it really helps. A lot of millennials are downtown right now, which is nice too, because they're starting to understand, looking at getting duplexes and living on one side and renting out the other. So it's kind of nice to see, they're beautifying Indianapolis, and a lot of good rehabs down here. So,
yeah, it's good to see. You've got some other major employers in the neck of the woods. Obviously, you talk about not having skyscrapers, but you do have the RCA Dome, right?
The RCA Dome. Wait a minute. That was many, 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 many years ago. Now it's the Lucas Oil Stadium.
Lucas Oil Stadium. My apologies. Yeah. Let's get it right there. We had AT&T Stadium or Mercedes-Benz Stadium or Jerry World in Dallas.
Right, Jerry's World. Yeah, there you go. Well, we had the 500. We have the Brickyard. That utilize the Speedway very well. That brings in a ton of people. We have a huge, what they call it, the conventions. I want to say Comic-Con. I'm not sure if that's the right name, but Gen Con and other ones that come to Indianapolis. So they bring a lot of people. So Airbnb does really well here. So that's what we're seeing a lot right now.
Yeah, that's a good thing, especially here with it starting to warm up a little bit across the country and the frozen tundra of Indianapolis thawing out.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. It does get kind of cold and icy.
Yeah. So let's bring it back a little bit here. So you're reaching out to your list, you're networking, local meetup club, local B&I groups, just networking locally, but also at events, making sure you get to know your list, find out what they're focused on, what they're looking for. You're reaching out to investors and finding out what would they be happy with, or really kind of what their money's not doing right now, right?
Right. Yeah.
Underperforming. On the investors that you're getting the cheap money from, are you seeing that coming from like 401ks or certificates of disappointments, or where are you seeing that money kind of rolling over from?
I like that certificate of disappointments.
You can use that, buddy.
I will. I'm going to use it. If you allow me to use it, I will. I love that.
Go right ahead.
It's actually, I don't see a lot of IRA money. Surprisingly, I see a lot of people just with liquid cash laying around that want to work it, which I thought it would be the other way around when I got in the note world. And maybe it's just the market that I'm in and the circle of influence that I'm in. But I don't see a lot of retirement money being used for this purpose. I'm just like, I explained to people in my meetup, this is a great way to grow your retirement. And that's really what you should be using is to put that in there. And I got, I tell people I got my kids' college account set up with a trust, and I got, my IRAs in there. And I just show people like I'm buying deals in this stuff. I'm not just saying it,
Exactly. Now, when you're closing on stuff, are you doing like a double closing, or are you just doing a pass-through close, or having your investors that are buying your assets? Are you just doing a pass-through closing, like a double close, or how are you getting those things closed? Because I'm sure people are curious about how that money exchanges hands, gets from them to you into the seller.
There's a couple of different ways to do it, and the way I prefer to do it is to hold the money in my escrow account and then fund the deal through my entity, and then just write a new assignment and launch to the buyer. And then I keep obviously the money. That's the difference between what they're buying and what I sold it for. And then the way to do it with a hedge fund or an individual that I know well enough, that I've done deals with and I'm comfortable with, I'll just have my buyer just fund them directly. And then they'll just pay me like what we'll call a broker fee or a wholesaler fee, the difference. And that's the two ways that I really do it. I prefer the escrow way because it's cleaner and it looks more professional, like I own the asset. So you can call it a double closing, but I don't know what you call it.
It's kind of not necessarily truly double closing, because we don't really have, when you're buying and selling notes here, it's a wire transaction for the most part. I think people don't realize that for the most part. It's not like going to a title company and sitting down and having a tabletop closing. It's basically about making sure the funds are there and then the collateral's there. But you're doing, I think the thing that is really making it different out there, and I love this from your case studies. This is one of the biggest things I love about your case studies, is when you're looking at the assets, you're literally doing the due diligence. Even the ones you're wholesaling, you're doing the due diligence like you're buying that asset, though. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I want to be confident to know that I didn't sell somebody something that's going to turn out to be, a turd. And so I don't mind doing the due diligence. It's not that hard. I have them pay for it, but I'll walk through it with them, because most of the time I'm dealing with people that haven't bought very many notes. The ones, if I was selling a note to you, obviously I wouldn't have to worry about it because you know how to, to do that. But most people I deal with don't know how to do it. And so I just underwrite it for them and say, I would buy this deal and this is why. And if they don't like it, they don't like it, but I don't push them to do it. And I just say, I would buy this deal. If you don't want to fund it, don't worry about it. I'm going to figure out a way to fund it because I like this deal.
And that's a lot of confidence, I would say, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know what I'm putting in front of them is something I would buy. And that's what I explained to them. I would buy this deal because of this reason.
Mm-hmm. For those that are out there watching, guys, have any questions for Justin, now's the time to go and ask those in the comments there. We'll make sure and get those answered and ask those for Mr. Bogard from BrightPath Notes. Question for you. I love the name. How'd you come up with the name BrightPath Notes?
Well, I was married a few years back, and my wife at the time, she was in marketing and branding. And so she helped me create the name BrightPath. And just I had a family of entities like that. I kind of liquidated most of them and now just have the BrightPath Notes, but that's just kind of how it happened. I wanted to say what it meant. And now that I'm in the business, I find out that not a lot of people understand notes what we're really talking about. So I had to really say mortgages because that's what people correlate, can understand what we're doing, but that's kind of how it created with the help of my ex-wife. So
Now, when you're talking with your money partners, and you start talking about mortgages, they suddenly start flipping out thinking it's going to be a 30-year investment?
They do. That's their first assumption. And I let them think that so they can ask me those questions and I can kind of shoot them down quickly and go, oh, no, you don't have to be in this for 30 years. You can sell it whenever. Just understand you're going to have to sell it to somebody else for a discount because that's how this business works. But if we buy it correctly, there's going to be enough spread in there after a few years when you take all the juice from the interest, because we'll focus on probably front end notes if that's their intention, is to probably sell it so they have a room to sell with not taking a UPB discount hit. But yeah, that's a conversation you have and say, hey, do you want to do a partial? I'll buy the back 15 if you buy the front 15, and if more numbers work out for me, that's what we'll do.
Good stuff. What kind of return are you looking for your own investments?
I don't focus too much on yield. I want to be north of 10. I typically land in the range of probably 11 to 14 on performing notes. But really I focus on the discount and what the underlying asset is, but I base heavily on pay history. So if I see someone with ACH payments and they've had a history of at least 14 to 16 months like that, sign me up.
Amen to that.
Sign me up. So other people are hung up on yield, so I'm hung up on pay history.
No, I think it's just a beautiful thing. Because if you're using other people's money to fund the transaction, you've got a nice infinite return on investment there that turns out to be pretty good, especially if you're arbitraging your funds or having them to fund the whole thing, which is a beautiful thing.
Yep. It's all about having a consistent payment.
What's a big tip you would give to people out there when they're talking in new funding sources about raising capital? Any mistakes you've made that you'd like to tell people to avoid, or any tricks of the trade?
I would say talk slow, and I would say keep it very simple and to the point, and don't overanalyze things, because that was my problem, having kind of an engineering background and being very analytical. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was running through all these numbers, and you just see people's eyes cross and going, how do I get out of this meeting? Because I don't know what this guy's saying. But you just got to keep it simple. Ask them a lot of questions, and then they answer it for you. You say, what's your pain point? Why am I here talking to you today? What interests you about this? And then kind of just gear your conversation towards that. So me being over analytical at first was a challenge, and I definitely lost out on a lot of potential. But that's what my advice would be, to slow down and to keep it simple, and just, don't harp on the yields, the returns, just harp on the security of what you're buying. You're buying debt at a discount, and the underlying collateral is worth way more than what you're buying into it. So it's relatively, I hate to use the word safe, but it's one of the safer investments out there to make a high yield.
Exactly. When the higher yields, often the better security we have too. That's the kind of, it's different than most places, higher yield often equates to risk most of the time being increased, and that's not always the case with the note business.
That's true. Yeah, very true.
One of the biggest tricks I learned earlier on from one of my great sales trainers back out of college, working for Verizon Wireless. I remember this guy, Benjamin Rodriguez, used to tell me to mirror the people I'm talking to, because I get excited, which nobody can tell.
Yeah.
And I rattle off at a mile a minute. But learning to mirror the people I'm talking to in a conversation. If they're slow, be slow in your delivery. If they're fast, be fast in your delivery, but not faster than them, right?
Right. Yeah. And be respectful and be mindful and be genuine. I mean, it's a lot to take in, and you're trying to think of this stuff in your head, but start off just being natural and just what comes naturally to you. Just talk to Scott Carson like he's your friend. Just if you're my buyer or my seller, that's why I'm going to talk to you.
Right. Exactly. And like, I couldn't agree more on the keep it simple strategy of things. Now, are you showing them, like you mentioned earlier, overanalyzing? You're not showing them 12 different exit strategies. You're probably showing them one or two strategies, correct, for the most part?
Yeah, if they're interested in non-performing notes, we just go over the general three. We say reperformer is the first way, deed and lose the second way, and foreclosure is the last way. And then I let them ask the question about foreclosure, because then I can go down a rabbit hole of, you can turn that into a rental, you can turn that into seller financing, you can blah, 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 blah. So let them ask you the questions so that they feel like they're controlling the not the argument, the meeting,
That's a good tip, to let them feel like they're control, but you are, through their questions, how you're dictating the answers. You don't want to get diarrhea of the mouth and throw up.
Or commission breath, as someone told me before.
And also take a deep breath. I think one of the biggest things about sales is if your potential funding partner, potential buyer, if you're desperate, they can sense that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Your first deal, you're just like nervous. You're like, sweating, you're like, man, is it hot in here? Like, no, it's 30 degrees outside. What's wrong with you? Just like, what? I got to change my shirt. Can we do this another time? Yeah, you do. I mean, it's really, it comes down, the mechanics are simple. Everyone's going to be nervous their first time. It is what it is. It's just human nature to be nervous. You're doing something new, something you're unfamiliar with, but just slow down, take a deep breath, and talk to them like a person, and expect them to tell you no. Just expect that, so that you just have fun with it and you learn with it, and just move on to the next person. And don't get hung up on, staying up late at night. Are they gonna fund the deal? Are they interested? Are they not? Just keep on blasting them with, good content, and do it in a respectful manner, and don't overdo it, but don't underdo it at the same time. So there's a balance, there's an ebb and flow to it, and you just learn it as you go. Everyone's different. Every note investor is different. Every speaker is different in this note business, I find, so.
Exactly. Stephanie says it's having a good conversation with someone and finding out what they need and know how you can help them from there.
Absolutely. Excellent comment.
Excellent. Good job, Stephanie Goodman, out there this morning. One of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with is what to show people. Now, do you have like a pitch book, or you got like some sample deals, or a little like executive summary that you take or share with investors as well? Kind of give a little bit of background on who you are in your business.
I don't, but I should. That's something that I definitely need to work on, and I'm not afraid to admit it. It's just something that I should have some sort of portfolio that says this is my not my brag sheet, but my reason why you should invest with me sheet. whatever you need to name that. I should do that, but I don't currently, because most of the time I'm dealing with somebody that I know, or they hear me through a podcast or a radio show. So they have the assumption that, I'm, this likable, trustful person, but I am, fix my hair here.
That's called experience at the top there, right? Experience.
That's called too much brain. My hair falls out because it needs more brain cells to do all these deals.
Good stuff out there. Justin, what's the best way for people to reach out to you, to get a hold of you, network with you?
Sure. So my email is justin@brightpathnotes.com. That's BrightPathnotes.com. And I have a website, brightpathnotes.com. I do some blogs. I'll obviously post this recording, or this link to this recording in there, and other things that I do as well. And I got some good basic information about note investing on there. I'm probably going to do some more Vimeo videos, just about maybe some slideshows and stuff. And then I have a note meetup. If anyone is local to the Indiana or Indianapolis area, please reach out to me via email. Let me get you on the list so that you can come to our meetup. It's the second Tuesday of the month, and it's free. And all I do is show case studies, and I'm just a very transparent person. And a lot of people tell me, they say, Justin, why do you show people how much you make on these deals? Don't you think they'll just go around you? And be like, most of the time they don't. About, 18 of the 20 people I meet in these note meetups, they typically end up wanting to partner with you on a deal as opposed to doing it themselves, because who really wants to learn something new? I mean, they got to be really motivated to learn something new. So that's why it's kind of backwards thinking, but that's why I just be transparent and say, these are the deals that I do. And I bring in other vendors and specialists in the note business to kind of preach what they do. And there's no selling. It's just like, this is what we do. So
I love it. But
sorry for dragging on there.
No. I think a lot of people don't realize that is most people don't want to do the work. I think that's the biggest thing. They love coming seeing. They're afraid you're going to go around. People go around. That's not the case. It's different in the note business than it is like the fix and flip or the traditional wholesale business, right?
Absolutely. And if somebody wants to partner with another note investor, that's fine too. I just, I hope they run into somebody that's trustworthy, because there's a lot of people in this business, and I'm finding out that, I'm not going to say a lot. I'll say there are some people in this business that they just don't do things the right way, the ethical way. And they're just more about making money than they are having a long-term relationship. And I'm all about the long-term relationship. So
yeah, that's the biggest thing too, is a lot of people, especially the wholesalers, once often they get paid, they run. It's hard to get a hold of them on the phone, or if they're brokering it from somebody else, it's impossible to get them on the phone. That's not the case at all with you, bud. But you've run into that over the years. You've run into that, or we get a lot of phone calls. Hey, I bought this note through this person. I can't get them to call me back. And we've had to step in a few times, make a few phone calls like, hey, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because word gets around quickly in this industry. I'm not a very big, entity in this note space, but word can get around quickly because my name gets out there. And then all of a sudden I'm like, don't buy from him, or don't communicate with this guy. So
just got to do the right thing, my friend. And that's exactly what you're doing. That's why we have you on here.
And ethical. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Ain't no problem, man. So everybody, you can reach Justin at brightpathnotes.com or Justin at brightpathnotes.com. Justin is actually going to be one of our speakers. He's going to be sharing on Note Camp 6.0. We actually have had to reschedule it, push that out a couple of weeks just because of our crazy schedule and some other stuff that we got going on. But we're excited to have you on there talking about wholesaling your business. Once we get around to that, it's going to actually be the 15th or the 18th of November.
Awesome. Yeah.
So excited to have you a part of that. Any other final words before we let you go today, Justin?
I don't know. I think I've rambled on enough today. No, I appreciate you having me on. I'm so glad I got the opportunity to meet you in person at the Note Summit. I know we've been connected online for a while, and it's just great to network with other people. And just, if I had to say anything else, it's just put yourself out there, be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and opportunities just flood your way as long as you're ethical and you're transparent and you do things right and do right by people.
Mm-hmm. You've got a guy from California that says, Rudy Willis says he looks like a trustworthy guy. Our good buddy Rudy.
I know, Rudy. Thanks, Rudy.
And then Alicia Ortiz says Justin is a great guy as well. We got the Justin Bogard fan club this morning, which is awesome.
Awesome. Out of the 20 or 30 people that may be on, I know a few of them, right? That's awesome. Thanks, Alicia. Thanks.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, have a great day, bud. We appreciate you taking time coming out of your busy schedule to join us here this morning.
Awesome. Yeah, look forward to Note Camp.
Yes, sir. We'll see you there, bud. Thanks, man.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. Hey, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closer Show. Like I said, check out Justin. If you're looking to get started, looking to buy some notes, Justin's a great guy to find some stuff, like you said before. Reach out to him, Justin, at brightpathnotes.com, or check out his meetup group if you're in the Indianapolis area as well. But go out and make something happen. Like he said, don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple, and just be trustworthy and ethical, man. Build a great business no matter what your business is in the note business. So, all right, guys, have a great day, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.